sometimes wonder if a major part of my mission in life is to restore broken people, or people that are not optimized, shall we say. And in the process of optimizing myself, I have spent time with people who themselves are, obvious to me, far from optimized. Now, I guess that could be said about almost everybody, and the journey of life is what life's all about, not the destination, because at the destination the game's over, in this iteration anyway. So until you reach the point where you're satisfied and completely at peace, feeling like you've succeeded and you're absolutely, delighted about all of the outcomes, and how they've, not so much the individual outcomes, but how all of the outcomes have conspired to assist you in fulfilling your ultimate purpose, and you've now done everything you can do and everything you want to do. Maybe you haven't done everything you can do, but you've done everything you want to do. You're now ready to end this iteration and discover if and what is next, if anything's to come, and what that is. Now, I can't identify with somebody who says, they've actually arrived and done it all. So I guess I'm still feeling very earthbound, and happily so. I don't want to shuffle off my mortal coil, in the words of some Monty Python sketch that I can't remember. I'm not ready to do that, and so I don't feel any drawing towards it. But I imagine there must be people who are feeling that, or feeling it fast approaching. And I'm reminded of, the words in the Bible that the Apostle Paul wrote to one of his churches, where he said something like, I've run my race, I've completed my course, and going forward, what I've got to look forward to is, my rewards for it all. Now, I don't know what they could possibly be. I imagine, based on my Christian experience for the first, I guess, almost 40 years of my life, pretty much, that he was referring to some place Christians call heaven, like a place where there's, streets and a gate, and the gate's made of one solid pearl, and the streets are paved with gold, and all of that. And I don't know, you kind of imagine angels are floating around on clouds playing harps. And I don't know, Jesus is walking around the gardens offering everybody a glass of Chardonnay. I don't kind of have that expectation anymore, or the sense that there's any truth on a material level, but that the illustrations that the Bible does give, in terms of talking of streets of gold and gates of pearl, were more metaphorical than actual, and that we're to actually draw something metaphysical, or into our metaphysical understanding world, rather than our physical material world. I don't think it's kind of like that. But I'm willing to be wrong. I somehow just don't think, if you haven't got a fight on your hands somewhere, if you're not pushing for something, if you're not trying to achieve more, what's the point? I just can't imagine that kind of heaven, that kind of experience, any more than I can imagine, the antithesis of that, the hell experience. I can't imagine that either. So But God, I've been through hell on earth, and there's been times when I've felt I've been close to heaven. I've experienced it, and when you then draw on the teachings of Jesus Christ in the four, as written down or recorded in the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, he talks about the kingdom of God being a non-material place, a non-physical place. He says it's in you. Now, it's not physically in you. Nobody's ever been cut open and, gold streets been found, or pearls. Maybe a few pearls might have been found. But I think the metaphysical aspect is the meaning. So to me, that comes down to feeling like I've fulfilled my purpose and the joy that comes in reaching my purpose, my short-term purpose, my immediate purpose, my purpose today, or my purpose for this week, or my purpose, for this year. I'm feeling, I'm well on track. That's pretty heavenly kind of feeling, especially if everything else is well taken care of and you're not struggling and stressed and unhealthy and fighting in a marriage and having kids that are off the rails, but things in your life seem to be blessed. That's kind of heavenly. And even if some of the things aren't perfect in your world, but to achieve a milestone towards them being better, that's great. If you've been fighting with your partner and now you've learned some skills and some communication mechanisms to communicate more effectively without creating the same angst between the two of you, then that's something that's quite a heavenly attribute. That's kind of, something worth having and worth striving for, even if you're not physically in good shape or financially in good shape or worse. So on the way to nirvana or heaven, I think it's good to be ticking off these various waymarks, these various goals, and driving past the signposts that tell you, yeah, you're on track. This is good. It's looking better than it was. You're closer than you were a day ago, a week ago. And you've done what you set out to do. That's important. Some people say, well, look, I've got so many problems, I don't know where to start. Well, just pick one and work on it. Work on the easiest one, if you like. Work on your emotions, maybe. There's a good goal. Just stop feeling so bad and realise that your emotions aren't always accurate evidence of what actually is going on. And get yourself a bit more in the moment rather than letting anxiety and worry about something that hasn't even happened yet overwhelm you and paralyse you from taking a step that you can take in the moment, which is, to pick up the newspaper or go online. Probably these days, I'm revealing my age now, but go online, seek.com or somewhere, and find work. Or if you can't find work, go and volunteer yourself somewhere. Go to the local old people's home and offer to help out, or just talk to the old people. Go and visit a hospital and walk along the beds and talk to somebody. Oh, you haven't got petrol in your car, you're throwing up more problems. Okay, well, get off your ass and walk out the front door and walk next door and say hi to your neighbour and smile and say, hey, I hope you have a really great day and everything works. Give something to somebody, because there's something you can do. Oh, you can't work, you've got another excuse you want to throw up? You can't walk, I mean? Okay. Pick up the bloody phone. If you're listening to this, you've obviously got one. And call somebody and thank them for something they've done for you in the past for which you were grateful at the time, but just forgot today to be grateful for. So there's always something you can do. And so when you set up these waymarks and set up these target points, if you like, these things to do that you can do towards something that you want but you feel you can't do anything about, the smallest little thing you can do, like sharing a kindness of any sort, being grateful for anything at all, releases you from the chains of negativity. Okay, it might not release you from them entirely, but they're chains. It's not a single chain. It breaks a chain, it breaks a link, and things start to unravel and tension starts to ease, and you just keep chipping away at it, and eventually you've hacked through all those chains and you feel more free. You feel the kind of free you've been wanting to feel for a long time. You feel the kind of satisfaction, the kind of worth, the sense of optimism. So we can all do something. And so I've found that in dealing in my life going forward, over the last 3 years or so, I've not had the external physical experiences that I might have wished for or scripted if you'd asked me to write down my wish list 5 or 6 years ago. But as a result of the difficulties and challenges that I've faced on many levels, not just a couple of levels, but on many levels, I find how much it has forced me to become even more grateful and more aware than I was when things were apparently better off. But I'm actually now a better person, which I wouldn't have bothered to pursue or even become aware of previously, because it's, when you're flying high, so to speak, in the lap of luxury, you don't appreciate as easily what you've got, because you'd start to take it for granted. And then pride can set in, and a sense of arrogance can set in, and I'm speaking from experience. But when you've got a true depth of humility that comes from another kind of experience, a richer experience, then when you come back to the abundance, you're less likely to take it for granted so easily. And you're less likely to be as arrogant when you're dealing with people. And you're more likely to be humble. And the more humble you are, the greater you get lifted up in life. One of the great humans on the planet was Mother Teresa and Gandhi. People like this are well remembered, and today the what's his name? Gosh, I'm having a blank. But the monk that goes around the world and is so well respected all over the world, the Dalai Lama. What happened to me there? So the Dalai Lama, he's a highly respected guy, and he lives apparently, a lot of his time anyway, lives a very simple life. Doesn't seem to need Rolls Royces, doesn't seem to need to have a lot of things that we might be chasing. And yet he probably has access to all these things whenever he wants them. But he's not caught up in them. He's more caught up in helping other people and being an example and enjoying the sense of gratitude and appreciation that truly, truly wealthy on all levels, especially on the metaphysical levels, not just the physical, but the larger picture things like honor, integrity, gratitude, appreciation, love, compassion. These levels, he's rich, so rich, he's admired the world over. Nobody I've ever heard said, wow, he's got so much gold. Oh boy, he's got his name on so many buildings. Oh wow, have you seen how he's in a different jet every day? No, nobody says that. But he's a rich guy, and he's a fine example. And so was Gandhi on many levels, and so was Mother Teresa on many levels, and so was Buddha on many levels, and Christ. And other people today, perhaps not as notable, but they've reached that point. Maybe they're living in relative obscurity, but you happen to know them. Maybe it was a family member, if you're lucky, more than one, who inspired you with a sense of their graciousness and a sense of their at ease with lifeness. And that's the true riches. I think that's the kingdom of which Jesus spoke. That's the Garden of Eden about which Moses spoke, because he wrote the book of Genesis. That's the nirvana that whatever culture speaks about nirvana. I don't know. I got raised in the Christian culture, so I know just about, well, I know a hell of a lot about that and a heavenly lot as well. But I don't know a lot about the others because I never really studied them. Happened to live with a Buddhist whose mum and dad were Buddhists, and their mum and dads were Buddhists. And I live in a Buddhist country where I think more than 90% of the population is Buddhist. So I'm surrounded by Buddhists, but I'm not a Buddhist. But I love Buddhists. They're great people, some of them. And some of them are absolutely terrible. Because it's not the religion that's made them good or bad. It's their actions. It's how they live their lives. Now the teachings of Buddha, there were many valuable things in there, and the people that live by those valuable, wise sayings and build them into their lives and experience every day are largely good people. And the people that go through the motions and the routines and, like to be seen making tambun, or offerings as they call it, at the temple, they're not good because of what they give. They give, if they're giving from their good heart, they're doing good. But people aren't good because they give large amounts. People are good because it comes from their heart to give, not to be seen of people, not to be admired by others, but because out of their heart they feel they want to. They want to give. They want to help other people. And there's a tremendous wisdom in that for all of us. And I find I'm learning that at a new depth, and I'm helping other people to learn it at a new depth. And I've sometimes thought to myself that, why aren't I on a stage talking to hundreds and thousands of people? Or why aren't I communicating to hundreds of thousands of subscribers on some internet podcast? Why am I dealing with 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, a small number of individuals that I know well, who I'm catalysing change in their lives? Why am I doing it on an individual level? Well, because of probably a number of reasons, but the point is that until I can find contentment in that, it's hard for me to find contentment really in more. And so I've got to learn to be really content with that. And in whatever state I find myself, to be really content with that. And I'm learning it at this level in a way that I'd never appreciated it before, of just how much it's making me develop as a person and be richer and really really find my true center, my true self, to find the kingdom. See, the kingdom of God is my true self. It's an allegory, it's a metaphor, an analogy, a parable. Jesus was constantly speaking in parables, which are physical illustrations with the purpose of revealing spiritual truths or metaphysical truths. And we've gotten so caught up in the physical, in the tangible, in the touch it, feel it, taste it, sensory world, that we've lost our correct sense of priority. We've swung too far, and then there's those who swing so far to the metaphysical, spiritual world, they're no bloody earthly use. As my mother used to say to me, some people are so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. And I've met plenty of space cadets like that who just, want you to think they're walking 2 inches off the ground. Or should I say 5 centimetres. Supposed to be thinking metric every inch of the way now, right? So I think it's a matter of priorities. And until you get your priorities right, you can't get your purpose right. And if you don't get your purpose right, you can't self-actualize, to quote Maslow. You can't self-actualize and really fulfill yourself, and so you're not going to be reaching that point of true fulfillment and satisfaction, peace and contentment, because you haven't sorted out the fundamentals. But once you have sorted out the fundamentals, then when you come into a greater realm, you'll bring with you a much stronger foundation, a much richer experience for other people, and you'll be perceived, or I'll be perceived, when I come into my next iteration. Let's say I'm standing on the stage on a frequent basis talking to thousands of people, or delivering a podcast to hundreds of thousands of people. The impact that I have will be far greater, and the times we live in are demanding a richer, higher quality, better caliber message. And it's a message that's got to be more true, if you like. Like when I was a kid preacher, I was running around sharing what I truly believed to be true. And I did share many things that even today I consider to be completely true. But as I look back today, I realise that also I shared things that were complete crock of shit. Crocks of shit. They were just wrong. They were a cultural disposition, not a metaphysical disposition, not a kingdom of God disposition, if you like. They weren't enduring. They're not things that are today would fly anywhere. And so I believed those things, and so I preached those things, and they were wrong things. Well, today people demand something that's more accurate. It doesn't. You can never deliver perfection unless you accept, as I sort of pretty much do, that close to perfection probably about is perfection. It's about as good as it can get. And when you get there, you realise actually you weren't really that close, maybe. But it's in the act of striving, it's in the act of moving forward, it's in the experience of the journey, not the destination, that we find our true and great meaning. And when we find meaning, we find purpose simultaneously. And when we find purpose and meaning, we find contentment. And I guess you just can't beat contentment. Because if you reach a point where you want more, you're not really content. But when you reach the point where you're content and you're not wanting more in a grasping sense, in a desperate sense, in a sense of need, you are wanting more to be able to do more, express more, be more of who you really, really are. And that's an ongoing journey. I don't know if we ever arrive. I don't even know right now if I want to, because then the game's over. That's it. So I love the journey, and I'm in no hurry to leave, and I'm committed to improving the journey, to experiencing many wonderful things, but not needing to. Cool. Well, I'm loving helping the people that I'm helping, and I'm in no hurry to stop. I'm enjoying it, and I'm on my way to helping a lot more people and making a bigger difference and being a part of the planet's evolution in a positive and wonderful and helpful way. And I'm so happy that I'm enjoying my life today. I've got so many things to be grateful for, in spite of all of the challenges and things I could sit in the corner and suck my thumb about. But there's no point in doing that, because it's not helpful. Why would you do that? Okay, listen. If this ever gets heard by anybody beyond me, and you want to know more about Daryl Reeves, you can find me at darrylreeves.me, DARRYLREEVES.me. See ya.